So this video is going to be about how I went from your average 15-year-old kid to approaching 30 and honestly feeling like I'm in the best shape of my life. And I want to stress that whilst it probably won't take you 15 years to get to a place that you're really happy with your level of performance and physique, it probably will take you longer than the 3 or 4 month transformation if you haven't got 5 to 10 years of lifting in the bank. So I want to take you back to 2009, 2010. And this is when actually I was living in, like my family was living in Thailand, right? So we kind of followed my dad around to various places in Thailand. Bangkok was an awesome place to live. I was about 14, maybe 15 at this point, 15 I think. And anyway, we were living out in Thailand, and every summer we would come back to Aberdeen, right? Because that's where we're all from, just to visit grandparents, friends, family, all that kind of stuff over the school holidays. And that was like my first real memory of when I first started getting into the gym. So I didn't really know anyone back home. I had like a couple of pretty close friends, but sometimes they were at school, sometimes they obviously had other plans. But other than that, because I hadn't lived in Aberdeen for, at that point, maybe like 10 years, like I didn't really know anyone. So I just thought, you know what, I'm gonna try this gym thing. I'm gonna start going to the gym. And I didn't have a clue what I was doing. I remember there was always this one guy in the specific leisure center that I would go to who would do a set of bench press, and you'd go outside, smoke a cigarette, bench press, cigarette, pretty aggressive superset if you ask me. But anyway, so I went in just about every single day over the summer. Like I maybe had one rest day a week. I totally got hooked on it massively. And I remember I would just start at one side of the gym and work my way through pretty much every single machine. My workouts were like 2.5 hours long because I had no idea what I was doing. But anyway, we came back to Thailand, went back to school, started rugby season, and it all paid off. Because I remember the rugby coach came up to me and he was like, "Bleh, you've put on some good weight, son." I was just like, yes, success. So that was kind of like where lifting began for me. And as I say, that was like 2009, 2010. So that was a hell of a long time ago. You know, I'm just about 30 years old. That was when I was about 15. So I'm not telling you it's gonna take you 15 years to get in shape, but just to give you an idea of how, like when I first started getting into this, like it was 15 years ago. So fast forward from there to between 2012 and 2016. So this is when I was doing my undergrad at Aberdeen Uni. So after all that, I did end up going back to Aberdeen for uni. So this was where I think I started to get a little bit more into training and lifting. Like, I don't want to say seriously, because when I think back, I still didn't really have a plan. I didn't have a structure. I wasn't following anything specific, but I was definitely a lot more consistent, right? Because I think between the times of the last clip where I spoke about, you know, when I was at school and going to uni, it was very mix and mash. There was periods where maybe I would train, but when I was at school, that didn't really happen so much. So it was a bit messy. So really, the next phase for me was like getting to that level where I was consistently going, you know, 3 to 4 times a week. And obviously that was also mixed in with uni, right? So like when I say uni, I don't mean necessarily uni work. I mean like, you know, the rugby club, uni socials and all that kind of stuff. So definitely was not the healthiest period of my life, but definitely I think a milestone in my training journey. So although looking back now, although I didn't really know what I was doing, I definitely still had more of an idea as to like what I should be doing. And whilst I was at uni, I went on one of the uni ski trips, right? Which was a lot of fun, but there was a moment on that ski trip that kind of, now at the time I didn't realize it, but now I look back, like that was a pivotal moment for me for actually taking my training more seriously. And it was actually because I fucked my back. Like I was going down, I can't remember what kind of slope it was. Let's just say it was a black. And I was snowboarding and I fell. I can't really remember exactly what happened now, but I fell awkwardly kind of forward, and I just landed very awkwardly on my back, right? And literally the second I stood up from that, I remember thinking, nah, like something's different, something doesn't feel right, like something's off. But I was like, but you know what, I can stand up and I can still go, so it can't be that bad, right? So I kind of brushed it off thinking, you know what, it'll just get better. Didn't do anything about it for ages. Kind of didn't play rugby for a while because I was just a bit worried about it. Long story short, eventually got an MRI scan done. Turns out I had like crushed one of my discs in my lower back. And I think now, like I think it's technically still crushed, but it very rarely, like that part of my back will very rarely cause me problems. Like super, super rarely. But it did teach me the importance of actually training properly, because off the back of that, I had to go to like physiotherapy. I had to do Pilates for a while just to like actually learn how to activate my core. Because I remember lying on the physio table, she'd be like, right, squeeze your glutes. And I was like, I don't know how to do that. Like, just could not do it. Like, did not have the connection between my head and my glutes to actually squeeze them. And then even she'd get me doing a plank, and she'd explain how I was doing it all wrong, because I wasn't actually using any of my core, it was my back supporting me. Anyway, blah, blah, blah. So kind of, that was the entrance of me getting into more structured training, strength training, and also finally realizing that I was gonna have to start training lower body properly if I wanted to have a more balanced body and a balanced physique to actually, not just from a aesthetic standpoint, but just from like a functionality standpoint as well. Like at that point, I remember one time as well phoning my mum, and I was like, just so fed up with my back being sore. I was like, Mum, I'm like 21 years old. I should not have back pain. Like, I could accept this if I was 50, but I'm not accepting it at 21. And that's when I kind of really just started taking all this stuff more seriously. And that was definitely the gateway for me of just then learning about everything else to do with training. So now if we fast forward again, just a couple years, 2017-ish, about this time, and I was still living in Aberdeen. I'd finished uni, still living in Aberdeen at this time. I was working as a trainee accountant. If I'm honest, hated it, was not for me. Like, just kind of doing it because I didn't really know what else to do, if I'm honest, but that's not the point of this video. Maybe we'll talk about that another time. But I was definitely at this point very, very into training, and I was very regimented, but I also fucking loved it. Like, I had actually started to follow somewhat of a program. I think it was just something from Men's Health. I would literally just rinse. It was like a 6-week program for Men's Health. I would just rinse and repeat for like so many cycles. But anyway, was definitely far more regimented, was really enjoying the training, was like seeing a bit of progression, was actually, as I say, following somewhat of a program, was, you know, having a structure in place. I knew what I was doing on a Monday to Friday. I'd usually go to the gym on a Saturday as well because I liked it, and I sort of really developed my taste. I really developed my love for fitness, and like I think that's what really got me into you know, eventually changing career paths. But it was in that time that I discovered, you know, functional fitness and CrossFit, right? So that was definitely another big milestone for me, was finding that out. And I can't remember exactly how, I think it just popped up on Netflix one time, you know, the CrossFit documentary. It was Fittest on Earth 2015. It was the documentary of those games. And I watched that and I remember thinking, that's fucking cool. I want to do that. Because at this point, I still would say I was definitely not strong. I was weak as fuck. I was weak as piss actually. But I was getting better, but I definitely was not that fit. Like, I hated, I mean, I'm still not the biggest fan of running, but I hated running. Probably would struggle to even finish a 5K at that point in time. And just any form of fitness, I just kind of avoided. I would always top myself out of it at the end of sessions. I'd always go in with an intention of, oh, I'll do some rowing at the end or something. Never actually did it. So it was seeing that and thinking, oh, like I can get behind that, how it's like a mix of everything together. And like, I think that'll make me want to do my conditioning more and like actually push myself. And also I love the idea of the community aspects of CrossFit and functional fitness. So then I inquired at CrossFit Aberdeen and kind of joined up there, and I, you know, 100%, I learned a lot from just training at that gym, from the other members there. I learned a lot from the coaches there for sure. And like, you know, they definitely wouldn't know it, but like they were also probably part of the reason as to why I wanted to change career, because I saw like what they were doing. I saw how much they enjoyed it. I saw how they were impacting every other people's like lives in the gym. They changed mine for sure, because at that time I still, even though I had a better grasp on everything, I still didn't really know the principles behind strength training and the principles behind conditioning and how you should be programming, you know, workouts and going through cycles of things, and, you know, starting off with like basic pyramid stuff and working your way up through intensities. Like, I still didn't really know any of that, so it was still very new to me. But I definitely didn't become an expert, you know, in the kind of year that I was there, but I learned an awful lot from them, and I was just constantly questioning them. And it was kind of after that I ended up making the decision to kind of leave the job I was in and going all in fitness, and deciding to do my PT course. So that was definitely a big milestone in my sort of training and my physique journey. But at this point, again, I had lost a lot of weight. I was probably down at one of my lighter weights, and I was feeling pretty good about myself. I remember like I was pretty happy with how it looked, but at that point I was just so hooked on like the performance aspect of fitness that I was like, right, I just want to get bigger, get fitter, get stronger. And then fast forward again to, maybe just a year. So 2018, back end of 2018. So it was like October-ish 2018. I decided to leave Aberdeen after having been there for, at that point, maybe 6 years, and moved to Edinburgh. Basically, there was a job opportunity to move down there, and I was like, right, I'm gonna jump on this, working as a PT in a gym down there. And one of the big sort of things that drew me, there was two big things that drew me to that, to be honest. One was, at that point, loads of my mates had left Aberdeen and it was just pretty dull, pretty boring. I was like, right, I need to get myself out of here. I need to go down to Edinburgh. I always sort of had more of a pull towards Edinburgh than Glasgow. So I was like, right, I'm gonna go down, I'm gonna find something and kind of, it's gonna work out. So anyway, moved down. And also the second thing was, like, I'd heard about the gym, I'd heard about the kind of people that worked there, and I was like, right, I want to be involved in that crowd. I think it would be a good environment for me to be in, to one, like, progress with my career at that point. I was fairly new into PT and, wanted to grow my own business to a level that I was able to sustain myself in. And then also for my own training, my own performance, my own physique, right? I wanted to surround myself with people who were farther ahead than me in these areas, and I could learn from them and push myself more. So moved down to Edinburgh, and obviously I'm still live in Edinburgh now, but circumstances have kind of changed. But that was definitely another key milestone for me in my lifting journey, because I think over especially the first kind of 3 years that I lived in Edinburgh, I learned an awful lot from, again, the people that I was working with at the gym, and made some really good friends from just, from being there, and other people that work there. And that's obviously a lot of the boys that I compete with. Obviously met them through that, and I think, we've come out as a really tight-knit group, so it's awesome. And I think that is definitely one of the biggest milestones for me in how my training shifted. Because I think, I'm pretty sure if I asked the rest of the boys, they would all agree, it was when we started prepping for the 2021 Summer Turf Games. I remember getting a text from Murray, and he was like, Turf Summer, are you in? And this was just off the back of the second lockdown. It was April or something. And I was like, who's in? And he sends everyone else's names who are in. I was like, all right, sick, yeah, let's do it. And then we were training every Saturday, fucking ending ourselves. And I swear to God, that's where every single one of us in that team went from meh to fucking savage over the course of 14 weeks. And that was a new fuel to the fire of training, and a new fuel to right, let's fucking get after this, let's get better. And then honestly, after that Summer Turf Games in 2021, at this point, I think that's when, for me, absolutely, I imagine probably similar for the rest of the guys, we kind of came away from that thinking shit, we're actually decent. We went into it, I think, feeling pretty good, but we also, we didn't know how good we would be compared to everyone else. We knew that we were good for our standard, but we came out of that thinking shit, we've actually got a chance to be pretty damn good at this. So again, that just set off a new fire in me anyway, to just get after training and really start to work on upping my conditioning to a far better level, working on more skill-based stuff, especially some of in the Olympic lifting kind of categories and things like that. At this point, probably not so much strictly CrossFit stuff, more functional fitness, but still, I probably saw the biggest changes in my physique from the kind of discovering CrossFit phase to sort of that 2021. So really from about 2017, 2018 to 2021, I would say is when I really started to make some both big performance and physique gains. And for reference, again, to remind you, that was, I had been lifting fairly consistently since, let's say, 2014, right? So it wasn't really until 7 years later that I was really thinking, okay, now I know now, I'm happy with how I look, I'm happy with how I'm performing, I know my trajectory is only going to be getting better at this point. So the time had been put in for me to have the level of performance, the level of physique that I was really happy with. And I think for me, also, as I say, the important factor was knowing that I was on a trajectory to continue improving that. So that, to me, kind of is the point I want to get across to you guys as well, is like, this shit takes time. And you'll see the before afters that I post before and afters 100%. Like, you see the before and afters of the amazing results, but you don't always see the graft that those people have got put in, and not even just when they've worked with me. Like, they may have worked with me for 6, 9, 12 months, but they've probably been training, if they've got like a really ridiculous end result, they've probably been training for, you know, 5+ years. So then fast forward again from 2021 to now. So like, you know, here we are. I feel as though at this point in my, you know, training and performance physique journey, it's as cliche as it sounds, it's like, I feel I'm the best Nick I've ever been. I'm the best, I'm the strongest I've ever been. I'm probably the fittest I've ever been. And like, I have felt like that for such a long time. And I'm not saying this to be like, ooh, look at me, I'm amazing. More just like stressing the point from the trajectory that I was saying before. You know, if you can constantly feel like you're improving, you constantly feel you're getting stronger, you're getting fitter, you're constantly, you know, feeling like and seeing progression in the mirror when you look at when you see yourself, right? It's really motivating, and it's not something that comes through 3 months of consistency, and it's not something that comes through, you know, even just a year of consistency. Like, you have to put in the graft for a long period of time. And when I say graft, like, I fucking loved it. Like, it should be enjoyable. And I think the people that are in the best shape, the people that you see, even like the top end people who, even like you look at people on magazine covers, like, they'll fucking love what they do. Like, I don't think you can look really great if you don't genuinely enjoy looking after yourself in that way and pushing yourself in the gym in that way. So yeah, for me, like, when I think about now, you know, I'm really happy with where I'm at. And again, I know the trajectory is there to continue getting better. So I'm excited for what the future holds. And yeah, I hope this video has given you some insight into, one, how long it takes to get results. And I'm definitely not saying that, oh, you know, it takes fucking ages, what's the point? None of that. Like, you absolutely can do it. I just want to be completely transparent and completely real with like how long it can sometimes take. And to be honest, most of you watching this, you probably will already have a good few years of lifting in the bank. So it's not like it's going to take you 15 years, right, to kind of get to a point where you're like really happy with where you are. And even me, like, I was really happy with where I was 4 years ago, and it's just now the trajectory I've been on has now been better and better and better. So it's not saying it's going to take you absolutely ages to do so. I just want to be realistic as to how long these things can take, and not let it dishearten you if you feel like you've been grafting, seriously grafting for, you know, 12, 16 weeks, and you're like, oh, I'm just not looking like what I thought I'd look like. It's like, well, no, you probably won't if you're relatively new to lifting. So just stick at it, keep going, and eventually you'll feel this feeling that I've got of like, you're in the best shape you've been, and you will continue to feel that if you continue to progress it. So as I say, hopefully that's giving you more insight as to how that works and what is a realistic time frame for these things, and also like learn a little bit and also giving you a bit more of an insight as to me and like how my journey went, how I went from, you know, just a normal kid who just played rugby, didn't do anything with the gym, to now, you know, coach somewhat of a competition, like amateur competition athlete who just like fucking loves this shit. So yeah, that is me. Hopefully you've enjoyed the video. Don't forget to subscribe if you have, share it with some of your friends if you think they'll benefit from it. Other than that, have a good one, and I'll see you in the next one.